Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I welcome you all to the next online lecture of software engineering. The topic of today's lecture is predictive models. And in predictive models, we will be studying the V model in detail. So these are two very important concepts in software engineering. Our main focus will be on what predictive models are, इनके क्या characteristics हैं, and why the V model is considered an improved version of the waterfall model. आप already waterfall model को discuss कर चुके हैं. Now you understand the basics of the waterfall model, so you will come to know कि V model is an improved version of the waterfall model. So by the end of this lecture, you should clearly understand कि how predictive development works, predictive model क्या होते हैं, what is the difference between validation and verification, and when organizations prefer the V model. So this is the background of the lecture. Now let us start the actual discussion. Predictive models. Predictive models are software development approaches where most planning is completed before actual development starts. देखिए idea simple है. And what is that? कि before writing code, आप actual development means के the actual coding phase, उस फेज पर पहुंचने से पहले पहले द डेवलपमेंट टीम ट्राइज टू प्रिडिक्ट ऑलमोस्ट एवरीथिंग अबाउट द प्रोजेक्ट. फॉर एग्जांपल कौन कौन सी चीजें इसमें हो सकती हैं, लाइक यू कैन कंसीडर के व्हाट आर द रिक्वायरमेंट्स क्या हैं, हाउ मच टाइम द प्रोजेक्ट विल टेक, what resources are needed, what risk may occur, what will be the final outcome, how will the outcome look like. So this model assumes that requirements are stable, customers will not frequently change their mind, and proper planning can guide the whole project successfully. So actual development start होने से पहले most of the working regarding the requirements, regarding cost, regarding time, regarding resources, regarding the risk is done. So a lot of planning is involved, right? Think of it like constructing a building. इंजीनियर्स randomly कंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं स्टार्ट कर देते. दे फर्स्ट क्रिएट ब्लूप्रिंट्स, राइट, नक्शे बनाते हैं, देन दे डू कॉस्ट एस्टिमेट्स, टाइमलाइंस जो है वो आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं, सेफ्टी प्लान्स बनाते हैं. So similarly, predictive software models rely heavily on planning before implementation. A lot of planning is involved before the actual coding stage starts. Main characteristics of predictive models. The first major characteristic is detailed upfront planning. जैसे मैंने आपको पिछली स्लाइड में बताया कि before going into the actual construction, we do a lot of planning. So in predictive models, most planning is done before coding begins. अब इसमें क्या क्या इन्वॉल्व होता है? The team prepares requirement document, SRS, software requirement specification. इसके अलावा the design documents, the budget estimates, the resource plan, the material requirements, timelines. Like, this is very important to know that the actual development will depend, mostly it will depend upon the plan that is developed prior to the development. So इसको यूं imagine करें, like imagine building a bridge without planning. So without planning से क्या होगा? Materials may run out, the structure of the bridge may become unsafe, and cost may exceed the budget. So software projects face similar problems if planning is weak. So predictive models का formula क्या है? Plan first, build later. पहले आप सारा plan कर लें, उसके बाद then you will be building the actual project, जिसको हम coding stage कहते हैं. The next characteristic is the sequential development. This means development follows a step by step sequence. जो हमने already development के phases पढ़े हुए हैं in classic life cycle. Requirements analysis followed by system design, followed by coding, followed by testing, followed by deployment, followed by maintenance. So one phase is usually completed before the next begins. For example, developers normally should not start coding before the design is finalized. And similarly, testing कब होती है? Once the implementation activities are done. So this creates a very organized development structure. However, इसकी limitation क्या है? The limitation is that going backward becomes difficult if major changes occur later. Now this is a main problem. The next characteristics of predictive model is heavy documentation. Predictive models require detailed documentation at every stage, be it requirement specification or be it design or any other phase like testing. So for example, requirement specification, UML diagrams, test plans, user manuals, maintenance records. So these are different things that are frequently documented. और documentation क्यों important होती है? Because software projects may involve like they may involve many developers, different departments, and long development periods. So documentation basically किस चीज में help करती है? It helps you to maintain consistency, improve communication, progress को track करने में help करती है, and accountability में help करती है. So and अगर हम इसकी real life example लें तो for example in banking or healthcare or aviation, documentation is extremely important for legal and safety purposes. The next characteristic is the clearly defined requirements. Predictive models work best when requirements are known early and remain stable. क्योंकि you have to do a lot of planning before the actual development. And the planning can only be done if the requirements are crystal clear. So, but if the requirements continuously change, predictive models become very difficult to manage. क्यों? क्योंकि अभी हमने पीछे पढ़ा है कि जी it's very difficult and very expensive to go back and make changes. Because late changes will affect the design, coding, testing, documentation, and it will also affect the overall project cost. So therefore, predictive models कब suited हैं? When the environment is stable, the requirements are not subject to change. The next characteristic is strict control and monitoring. So project managers can easily track the deadlines, the budgets, the deliverables, and progress क्या है, the team progress. Why? Since everything is planned in advance, management can compare planned progress versus the actual progress. So basically ये identify करना आसान है कि हम according to the plan चल रहे हैं क्योंकि already development से पहले हम detailed plan बना के आ चुके हैं या फिर हम अपने plan से deviate कर रहे हैं. So strong monitoring is a characteristic of the predictive models. The next is the handling of change. As it is written that changes are expensive. So the final characteristic is about the change. Suppose a major requirement changes late in the development. So जैसे मैंने पहले कहा है कि it will require a redesigning of the system, rewriting of the code, updating of the documents. So इससे क्या होगा? Cost will increase and deadlines are delayed और project की complexity जो है वो बढ़ेगी. So this is one of the biggest weakness of predictive models. Okay, common predictive models हमारे पास कौन-कौन से हैं? So the waterfall model, the V model which we are going to study today, the spiral model, the incremental model, ये तमाम मॉडल्स जो हैं वो प्रिडिक्टिव मॉडल्स की कैटेगरी में आते हैं. Now today our main focus will be on the V model. But remember that all these models like the waterfall, the V model, the spiral and the incremental model and even the prototyping model to some extent, all these models belong to predictive approaches because they rely heavily on planning and structure development. Now let us talk in detail about the V model. The V model stands for verification and validation model, और जैसे मैंने स्टार्ट में बताया था, it is an extension of the waterfall model. लेकिन इसमें डिफरेंस क्या है? द डिफरेंस इज के इट हैज स्ट्रॉन्गर फोकस ऑन टेस्टिंग एंड क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस. जब हम वाटरफॉल मॉडल में टेस्टिंग एंड क्वालिटी एश्योरेंस को स्ट्रांगली एश्योर करते हैं, उसकी रिलेटेड प्रैक्टिसेस को इनकॉर्पोरेट करते हैं, तो हमारे पास आता है वी मॉडल. इसको वी मॉडल कहते क्यों है? बिकॉज अभी मैं आगे आपको डायग्राम में बताऊंगा. इट स्ट्रक्चर रिजेंबल्स द लेटर वी. The left side of the V represents development activities जो अभी आपको पता चलेंगी. These are requirement analysis, design, architecture, for example. At the bottom is coding, and at the right side we have the testing activities. Here we go. This is the V model. You can see, okay, on the left side we have the development activities, and this is referred to as the verification phase. We have the requirements gathering, analysis, design, software design, then module design. And then at the bottom we have the coding, and at the right side we have the validation activities. So these are the testing activities. So देखिए यहाँ पे try to understand कि आपको क्या बताया जा रहा है कि as the development activities are being done, तो उसके साथ साथ आप देख सकते हैं उनके साथ correspondingly एक testing phase जो है वो attached है, associated है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल व्हेन द रिक्वायरमेंट गैदरिंग इज बीइंग डन, तो उसके साथ साथ प्लानिंग फॉर द एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्टिंग इज बीइंग डन एज वेल. या इन अदर वर्ड्स हम कह सकते हैं कि टेस्ट केसेस फॉर द एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्ट आर आल्सो प्रिपेयर्ड. Similarly, during the system analysis, along with the activities of the system analysis, planning for the system testing is also done. The test cases are also developed for the system testing. So basically, the actual testing activities are done after the coding, लेकिन during the verification phase या during the development activities, the plan for the testing activities is also done. The planning is also done. The plan is also created, so that later on when the actual testing activities are performed, so those activities would be dependent on the plan that was created during the development activities. I hope you are getting the point. It will get clear as we move forward. So first of all, try to understand, क्योंकि on the left side we have the verification phase and on the right side we have the validation phase. So verification asks, या verification activities basically focus on the question, are we building the product right? Are we doing the correct activities? It focuses on the process of development. We want to make sure that the activities that we are performing during the development, they are the most suitable activities. They are being done in the correct way. Quality is being maintained in the process. So basically, it focuses on the quality of the process. It involves different activities like reviews and inspection and some others as well. While validation, which is at the right side of the V, this is about focusing on the question, are we building the right product? Not to forget, verification focuses on, are we building the product correctly? It is basically related to process quality, while validation is related to the product quality. It asks questions about the product, that are we building the right product? And definitely it is done after implementation and includes the software testing. सो वेरिफिकेशन जो है हमारे पास, वो इस चीज की इंश्योरेंस है कि जो डेवलपमेंट एक्टिविटीज परफॉर्म की जा रही हैं वो एक्टिविटीज ठीक हैं, उन वी आर परफॉर्मिंग दी और वी आर एक्सिक्यूटिंग द क्वालिटी प्रोसेस. बिकॉज नॉट टू फॉरगेट, अगर आपका डेवलपमेंट का प्रोसेस ठीक होगा तो अल्टीमेटली जो प्रोडक्ट आपका बनेगा दैट वुड बी एन एक्यूरेट प्रोडक्ट, ए क्वालिटी प्रोडक्ट. जबकि वैलिडेशन ये देखती है कि ओके यू हैव फॉलोड द करेक्ट एक्टिविटीज, अब जो प्रोडक्ट बन गया है क्या ये राइट प्रोडक्ट था, क्या ये वही प्रोडक्ट था जो कि रिक्वायरमेंट्स के मुताबिक था, जो कि कस्टमर को चाहिए था, जो कि बेसिकली जो कस्टमर प्रॉब्लम फेस कर रहा है उसका सोल्यूशन है. सो validation focuses on the final software product, and as I mentioned earlier, it includes actual software testing. Suppose you are developing an ATM system, तो verification में हम क्या check करेंगे? Whether developers followed correct design procedures, whether requirements were implemented properly. जबकि validation में हम क्या check करेंगे? Whether the ATM actually works correctly for the user. So जैसे मैंने पहले कहा कि verification is related with the development activities and validation is related with the actual product. So verification checks the correctness of process while validation checks correctness of the product. That is the bottom line. I repeat, verification checks correctness of the process while validation checks correctness of the product. Main characteristics of the V model: early testing planning. Testing activities are planned from the beginning with the development, जैसे मैंने आपको पहले बताया. Strong quality assurance. The model strongly focuses on the software quality. Sequential and structured. Development still follows an organized sequence. Emphasis on verification and validation. जैसे मैंने पहले explain कर दिया already. Both the development quality, that is verification, and the product quality, that is validation, is properly checked. And this one is best for the V model is best for suitable for stable requirements because it comes in the category of the predictive models. So it works best when requirements do not change frequently. How the V model is different from the waterfall model? So in the waterfall model, testing mainly occurs after coding is completed. But in V model, testing is planned throughout development, as I have already explained. This is the most important difference. V model में we have stronger quality assurance, earlier error detection क्योंकि testing activities start में हो जाती हैं, and better testing integration. टेस्टिंग की तमाम एक्टिविटीज स्टार्ट में फिनिश नहीं हो जाती, उनकी प्लानिंग डेवलपमेंट के टाइम से स्टार्ट हो जाती है एंड लेटर ऑन उन्हीं प्लान के मुताबिक आफ्टर द कोडिंग इज डन द टेस्टिंग इज परफॉर्म्ड. While in waterfall, problems may be discovered very late because the testing is started, even the planning of the testing is started after the closing of the development phase. In the V model, many issues are identified earlier because जैसे मैंने कहा testing preparation starts alongside the development activities. So, key difference in simple words. Waterfall says first build everything, then test. And V model says plan testing alongside development. अच्छा, यहाँ पे स्टूडेंट अक्सर एक क्वेश्चन करते हैं कि डज एक्चुअल टेस्टिंग हैपन इन एवरी फेज? तो देखिए, द आंसर इज मोस्टली. टेस्टिंग, प्लानिंग एंड प्रिपरेशन हैपन ड्यूरिंग ईच फेज, लेकिन एक्चुअल एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ टेस्टिंग हैपन्स आफ्टर कोड. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ड्यूरिंग रिक्वायरमेंट एनालिसिस एक्सेप्टेंस टेस्ट आर प्लान, जैसे मैंने पहले बताया. ड्यूरिंग सिस्टम डिजाइन सिस्टम टेस्ट आर प्लान. ड्यूरिंग मॉड्यूल डिजाइन यूनिट टेस्ट आर प्लान. बट द सॉफ्टवेयर इटसेल्फ कैन नॉट बी फुली टेस्टेड क्योंकि उसकी अभी तक कोडिंग ही नहीं हुई. सो द वी मॉडल मेनली एम्फसाइजेस ऑन अर्ली टेस्ट प्लानिंग बट नॉट necessarily full test execution during every phase, क्योंकि वो तो तब होगी जब आपका एक्चुअल कोड डेवलप होगा. So let's have a real world scenario of a banking system. In the waterfall approach, the complete banking system is developed first, testing starts later, and security problems may be discovered very late. तो यहाँ पे क्या होगा कि this can be dangerous because banking system require higher security and reliability. जबकि V model में while requirements are being gathered, the team already starts planning. So security testing, transaction validation testing and integration testing, for example, इन सबकी planning start होगी. तो as a result क्या होगा? Risks are reduced, reliability improves and software quality becomes higher. यही reason है कि why industries like banking often prefer models with strong testing strategies, and obviously as compared to the waterfall model, the V model has stronger emphasis on early testing activities. So when the V model should be used? When the requirements are stable, quality assurance is critical, documentation is required, and risk must be minimized. So that is why mostly in banking system, medical softwares या aerospace software या defense या कोई भी ऐसा software जो safety critical हो, so they normally refer V model as compared to the waterfall model. लेकिन however, it is not ideal for projects when requirements change frequently because modifications are very expensive. So let us conclude. Uh, we learned that predictive models kya hai, and we discussed that they rely heavily on planning, they follow structure development, and they work best for stable requirement. And then in the second phase of the lecture, we studied the V model, which improves the traditional waterfall approach by integration testing, planning, and throughout development. So remember the key concept. Waterfall ने हमें क्या कहा? Build first, test later. And V model works on the principle plan testing together with development. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. God bless you.